Now imagine being a teenager and waking up at 2 in the morning and playing a prank on your little brother, telling them that they're going to Disneyland, they need to make their bed and pack their bags, and then having a good laugh over it. Now imagine having such a controlling mother that bought you 7 months of having no bedroom, sleeping on a beanbag, and still questioning you about the prank that you pulled on your little brother 7 months prior. That is the story of Ruby Franke and her kids. That is the type of parenting that was going on in her household. Now, why is Ruby Franke so interesting? Well, she runs 8 passengers. And in that, she gives parenting advice over and over again. Now, for me, that's not what this video is about today. We are going to talk about Kevin Franke and the right that he has to his children. So before we jump into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that like if you like the content because I want to get it out to more people. And leave a comment. What do you think? Do you think that Kevin Franke should have rights to his children? Or do you think that Kevin Franke left for a long period of time, 13 to 14 months, and should have no rights to his children? So let's jump right into it. All right, so we've heard a lot so far in the last month with Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrand. And there's a lot of people that are coming out and saying that, hey, Jody Hildebrand gave me some bad advice. She even lost her license at one point. And even Kevin Franke has said that she was a major reason that he lost his marriage to Ruby Franke. But before we get into all that, I have to ask you folks, are we buying the story that Kevin Franke had nothing to do with the abuse that was going on into that house? And I ask that as a question because I am not sure yet. And I'm going to pose 2 different scenarios to you. And then you can tell me what you think. And based off of your comments, I'll be able to form an opinion. So the first thing is that they grew this channel into a multi-million-dollar making channel. So the first thing I always have to ask is, was Ruby Franke true on her channel, or was she doing things that were controversial to grow the channel themselves? Was the things that were happening behind the scenes actually happening, or was she trying to bring some shock value to her viewers? Now, based off of the 911 call that you heard in Lexi's video that's found on this channel, you do hear that when the 12-year-old son was at Jody Hildebrand's, that he had to escape and he had duct tape on his ankles and it just did not look good. He looked like he was underfed. And then we hear the stories after that of how ruthless it was living in that house. Okay. So again, this is not a Ruby Franke video. This is a Kevin Franke video. So I want to go over to Kevin for a second. Did this stuff only happen in those 14 months? Because it's my understanding that the eldest daughter had been claiming this stuff for years and they'd even called the police several times. Where was Kevin Franke when this stuff happened? Was he just oblivious to what was going on in the house, that he believed that his kids were not being abused? Or was Kevin Franke himself being controlled by Ruby? And I want to play a clip here where Ruby really talks about how she manipulates basically everyone, including her husband. And you know what? I'm just going to play the clip so you can form your own opinion. So let's play that clip now.
I have been a masterful manipulator. I have manipulated using sex. I've manipulated using external rewards. I have wanted something and I'm going to get it no matter.
All right. So based off of that clip, you can tell that she is very proud of herself, that she can manipulate almost anyone and using various types of strategies, including sex. So when she's talking about that, we can only assume, or I only assume, that she is talking about her own husband, Kevin Franke. So what does that mean? Does that mean that she had Kevin Franke wrapped around her finger so well that Kevin Franke was oblivious to the abuse that was going on to his kids? Was Kevin bought in so much by Ruby Franke that he didn't believe that abuse was actually happening when he was inside the home? Or did Kevin just believe this was normal parenting? Right? That's where I have a hard time trying to decipher, was Kevin guilty of the abuse, or was Kevin just wrapped up in Ruby and was so wrapped up that he failed to see that his main job was to protect his children? Now, I want to believe the second portion to that, but I just don't know, because I've always grown up to know that an adult that has kids, their primary function in life is to protect kids, they're children. So I'm having a hard time believing that these kids should ever go back into the custody of Kevin Franke. Now, at the same time, I don't want to say I feel sorry for him, because I don't know that I necessarily feel sorry for him, but I do want to believe that if he was under some sort of spell, that maybe he gets the right counseling and then can earn the right to have his children back. Because the one thing that we don't hear a lot from the kids is that they were abused by their father. So that would lead me to believe either they haven't come out and said that their father did anything to abuse them, or that they really didn't get abused by their father, and Kevin Franke essentially was mesmerized by Ruby, and with some counseling and some help, he could be reformed to be able to take care of his kids. And let's be honest, anytime kids are taken away by child protective custody, their best interest is usually to go back with a family member or with a parent, specifically if they haven't been abused by that family parent or family member, right? So I don't want to be confusing here. If they've ever been abused by one of their parents, they should never go back. But if that parent hasn't done anything, that's probably going to be best suited for those children. And I know that this came out in court, and Kevin Franke's attorneys really wanted to highlight this. But if you're a judge and you're sitting back and you're listening to some of this stuff, it's hard to decipher. And you have to really go one way or another to kind of put Kevin Franke in one boat or another. Now, would he be absolved of the last 14 months that he wasn't around? Absolutely. And it is stated out there that, he was gone and he abandoned his children, quote unquote, for 14 months. However, there is conflicting statements out there of, his eldest son coming over and spending time with him and that kind of stuff happening. So as we decipher through the facts that are going to come out in court, because everything else, if it doesn't happen in court, is speculation or hearsay, okay? I just want to reiterate that. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove, if you've ever watched Law Abiding Citizen. And we want to wait for the facts to come out. So I'm going to leave this with you folks. I want you to write your comments down below. Is there another theory that could be a part of this, or that would absolve Kevin Franke? I want to hear it. If you think that Kevin Franke shouldn't get his kids back, I want to hear that, and I want to hear why. If you think he should get his kids back, I also want to hear about that, and I want to hear why. If we get enough comments and I get to think through this case a little bit, I will put what my opinion is. At this point, I am pretty neutral because there's just a lot of stuff that's going on, and I don't have a lot of information that would be used in a court of law to be able to say, hey, I'm going to lean one way or another. So that being said, a couple extra videos this week with the Richard Allen video and the Kevin Franke. There's a lot of stuff going on in true crime. I'm having a hard time keeping up, but we will try to get these videos out as quickly as possible. I do appreciate the growth. We've hit almost 250 subscribers. I would have to guess by the time this video comes out, we're gonna be well over 250. But if not, and you stayed with me this long, hit that subscribe button. Let's grow the community together. Have a wonderful week, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Saturday. I am bringing you an update on Brian Koberger.